Yeah, so let's talk about it. If you're new here, hi, I'm Max. I write under the pen name Gemma Tate. I like to talk about weird books on the internet. Normally, I talk about weird kid green flag books, but today I want to talk about book series that you might have skipped as a middle schooler or a teenager or whatever, but I think that you should read or reread as an adult because I think that they make legitimate critiques of society and they're well put together, they're well crafted. Uglies is first on that list. This series is so completely underrated, and I maintain that part of that is because they literally could not make a movie adaptation without undercutting the base premise of the books. And on the one hand, that's genius. On the other hand, I'm a little bit sad that a lot of people never got the exposure to the series. Series number two, The Darkest Minds. I think that this book just had some bad luck with when it was published. It was like really in an influx of a lot of very sci-fi oriented post-apocalyptic YA stuff. This series is brilliant. This series handles really dark stuff in a really careful, deft way. And there are follow-up novels that came out after the main series that I think are genuinely brilliant. And it makes me very, very sad that not a lot of people read them. Number three, I've talked about it before on this page, the Life as We Knew It series. Number four, I think that people read the His Dark Materials books, The Golden Compass, The Subtle Knife, The Amber Spyglass. I don't think that people know there are follow-up books. There are books that came out when I was in college, and they deal with a lot of the same themes of the main series, but then also with the way that those themes evolve as the characters grow up and grow older, and it's brilliant, and it makes me very, very sad that people don't seem to know that those exist. Right. Definitively the most mainstream thing on this list. People read the Percy Jackson books. I have no fear, no worries whatsoever about that. But I have been learning since the show came out, and as a fanfic writer who writes some Percy Jackson fanfic, people didn't read The Heroes of Olympus, and that, again, that makes me sad because I really live for books where your chosen one character does their big chosen one quest and then grows up and then has to deal with the repercussions of growing up. And I think that The Heroes of Olympus handles that brilliantly, and I'm just a little bit sad that people didn't give it a chance. Number six, we're getting into weirder book territory here. I've been learning over the last few years that none of my friends read the Finishing School series or the Prudence series by Gail Carriger. And I think that's a mistake. I really think that everybody who's into sort of weird books and steampunk books and interesting fantasy should read anything, everything by Gail Carriger. On that note, I think that everybody who's into the same kind of weird fantasy stuff as me should read Alana the Lioness or Circle of Magic. I think a lot of people read like one Tamora Pierce book or one Tamora Pierce series, and they stopped there. And I don't really understand why, because they're great, and they kept me occupied for a really long time as a kid. Number eight, I have been discovering that a lot of people just skipped all of Carl Hyacint's books, and that's like bizarre to me because he wrote ones specifically aimed at children. And maybe this is just that I grew up in a little environmentalist family in the South. I read a lot of Carl Hyacin. But, like, I was talking to my partner yesterday, and I mentioned Hoot, Scat, Flush, and he'd never heard of any of them, and that's insane to me. Especially because the adult books that that man wrote are also, like, you know, they're funny and they have a point, and I think that more people should read them. I also have been learning that many of my friends never read Inkheart. They watched the movie or they took one look at the cover and they decided that that wouldn't be interesting. And I think that that is a mistake. I think that those books are just as interesting as an adult, and it makes me honestly really sad. I think that more people should read it. Number 10, this is especially for all of you who are out here reading the Folk of the Air series by Holly Black, all the people who are like really, really into The Cruel Prince. Why did none of you read Tithe? Link's in, it's canonically part of the same story. And it was such a good intro to that kind of fairy tale and that kind of storytelling. And I really, really love it, and I wish more people had read it. And finally, number 11, it had its moment of popularity, but it makes me sad that so many people skipped An Ember in the Ashes. I think that it has such a poignant storytelling style, and it has such an important story at the heart of it, that I think it's genuinely really worth reading as an adult. I think that there's a lot of purpose and point to going back and reading or rereading that one as an adult years after it's come out. Anyway, let me know if I missed something. Please feel free to talk about that in the comments. I am always looking for more recommendations and more things to talk about.